Joe Biden is getting ready to raise taxes. Raise taxes at least on the rich. Now, we haven't had a tax hike of the sort that the Democrats have in mind really since the early 1990s. 1993 was the Clinton tax hike in Clinton's first term. There have been some tinkering with taxes since then under Obama and then also under Trump, but no fundamental alteration of the structure of tax rates. To put some of this in historical perspective, tax rates after World War II were extremely high. In fact, the top marginal tax rate was over 90%. So at high enough rates, you'd pay 90 cents on the dollar, on the last dollar you earned in income taxes. When Reagan was elected in 1980, the top rate was 70%. The reason we know that Reagan had a real revolution, the Reagan Revolution, is that the top rate was brought down over two terms from 70% to 28%. A huge change. And it produced a massive economic boom in the 1980s that actually pushed through even in the 1990s. Now, the rate has gone up since then from 28 to now a top rate of somewhere around 37 to 39%. It's just under 40%. This is just the federal rate, by the way. So rates have crept up, but they haven't gone close to 70, and they're not going to. What Biden wants to do is a kind of spate of tax proposals that would raise the corporate tax rate, currently 21%, to about 28%. By the way, this would put it way higher than even the Scandinavian rates, which are around 22%. Same as the United States' current rate. He wants to raise the estate tax, or at least include more people in it so that you can, fewer people can leave all their money to their kids. He wants a higher capital gains tax rate for people, at least high income earners. And most significantly, he wants to raise the rate on people earning over $400,000. So this is the sort of tax the rich scheme. Very interestingly, Larry Kudlow, the prominent supply-side economist, recently made a statement that really challenges the underlying logic of this whole business. Basically, what Kudlow is saying is if you want to raise more revenue for the government, don't raise tax rates, cut them. Here's Kudlow. Listen.
The way to get upper income people to pay more in taxes is lower their tax rate.
Now, for people who don't know anything about economics, people who don't know anything about supply-side economics, people who've never heard of the Laffer curve, they're going to go, what is this guy even saying? Isn't it a fact that if the government wants to raise more revenue, you have to raise the rate? Because after all, think about it this way. If there's only $100 in the economy and the tax rate is 37%, you get $37. If you want to get $42 or $48, you've got to raise the rate to 48%. Of course, the underlying fallacy here is that there is a fixed $100 that is there to be taxed. And what Kudlow is getting at, and this was the essence of the famous Laffer curve, really devised by the economist Arthur Laffer in the Reagan years. And Laffer made a simple thought experiment. He said this. He said, try to imagine a tax rate of 0%. How much money will the government take in under that rate? Answer, 0. Why? Because you have a 0% rate. No one's paying any taxes. But then Laffer said something very startling. He said, now let's imagine a tax rate of 100%. How much money would the government take in revenue under a 100% tax rate? And his answer was also 0. Also 0. Think about this. His reason is that if you take away people's entire earnings, no one will produce anything. Why would anyone go to work? Why would anyone start a business if you take your profit and then turn over all of it to the government? So the simple truth is that the government's revenue at 0% and the government's revenue at 100% tax rates is identical. And Laffer's point was, and this is the beauty of the so-called Laffer curve, there's a certain point at which once you start taxing people more, they produce less, and therefore they end up paying less into the system. That's the basis of Kudlow's logic, that, you know what? Rich people are already paying a lot. You're already taking 37 to 39 cents on the dollar, and that's not even counting state tax rates and other forms of taxation. So if you want to motivate people to be productive, to be entrepreneurial, to create a bigger pie, reduce tax rates, boost their incentives for them to be more entrepreneurial, and with a bigger pie, even at a lower rate, you'll end up taking in more. Of course, that implies a vision of a dynamic economy. It implies an understanding of how capitalism actually works. And in the case of Biden and his team, you've got a bunch of Democrats who have no interest in any of that. They've never heard of entrepreneurship. Think of Biden. He's never been an entrepreneur in his life. Essentially, his form of getting rich has been cashing in from foreign governments. So for these people, it's all about raiding the safe. It's all about looting Fort Knox. It's all about raising rates so you can confiscate more. That's how they think. This is why they're so destructive to the great American engine of growth and prosperity. They want to leech off of it, but they have no idea of the forces that create this prosperity in the first place.